is enchanting. At the MADHACK 3.0, I'm Nadia Nashad, a first-year computer science student of UCSC, and I will be your moderator for today. You are here today to witness innovation and creativity converge in a kaleidoscope of ideas, setting the stage for a night filled with technological marvels and collaborative brilliance. I assume you all are excited for it, eagerly anticipating the unfolding of an experience that promises to ignite your passion for innovation and foster an atmosphere of camaraderie among like minded enthusiasts gathered here at MADHACK 3.0. Before we dive into the main events, I'd like to take you all through a brief recap about the MADHACK. As captivating as its name suggests, MADHACK embodies a unique and awe-inspiring essence. In the realm of hackathons, mobile application development stands out. IEEE student branch of UCSC holds the distinction of being the pioneer in hosting the very first mobile application development hackathon in Sri Lanka. This wonderful event encompasses multiple educational sessions, and today is the second stop which holds the mobile app designing event to which you all are present here today. Mobile app designing is the art and science of creating user-friendly and visually appealing interfaces for applications on smartphones and tablets. It encompasses the strategic arrangement of elements to ensure a seamless and engaging user experience. From intuitive navigation to eye-catching visuals, every aspect is meticulously crafted to enhance functionality and aesthetics. So, there's a whole lot to come, and what are we still waiting for? Without further ado, let's get started. Let's welcome our speaker for today. I'd like to extend a warm welcome to her, acknowledging her expertise and looking forward to the insightful knowledge and inspiration she is poised to share with us on this enlightening occasion. Nadeeka Athukorala. She is a lead UX designer in Mobile Experience Framework at IFS. She completed her Bachelor of Science degree in Information Technology, specializing in software engineering at Slate in 2018. During her 7 years of experience in the IT industry, she has worked with startup, mid-level, and large organizations. She advocates for a career in UX and is enthusiastic about finding inspiration from real world experiences influenced by art and human sciences to create human centered digital experiences. And now I would like to hand over the platform to her for an enlightening session. Over to you.
Thanks, Nadia. Good evening, everyone. I hope you all are having a great evening. And let me share my screen to begin with. Yeah. So Nadia gave an introduction to me, so I will not take your time to give more introductions. I hope you all can see my screen clearly. Can anyone of you let me know? Okay. So today we are going to discuss about designing mobile apps within this brief period. So without a further ado, let's move into the agenda for today. So these are the topics that I will be covering today, starting from why mobile app design matter and what is mobile app design and mobile application designs versus mobile web design, native versus cross-platform mobile apps, and some best practices that we should adhere to, and what's in the future for mobile app design. So before we start actually discussing about why mobile app design matter, I want you all to have a look at these statistics. So if I give you a brief introduction. So $613 billion is the anticipated revenue for mobile applications in 2025. And 5 million is the number of applications that we have had in 2021, both in App Store and Google Play. So reason why I'm showing you these statistics is that mobile application is something that many businesses are interested in and they keep investing in. So these numbers really do matter for us to make decisions. And then I'm going to ask you a question. And before that, let me share you a FigJam link in the chat so all of you can access that. Okay. So I hope you all can access the link. And once you access, there's a section called "Have you ever uninstalled an app?" So that's where you should go in the FigJam file. And this is the question. Have you ever uninstalled an app? And I'm pretty sure you all might have uninstalled an application at some point in your life. And I want to know why you uninstalled a particular app at any point. It could be right after downloading it from the App Store. It could be after some time, anything. And the app could be anything. There are various kinds of apps that we use. Just give me the reason why you had to uninstall any app. You can give multiple answers as well. So let's take 3 to 5 minutes for this. So while you are adding the answers, I'll give you a small tip. If you want to add more sticky notes, you can just click on the sticky note and it will show 4 dots. And once you click on one of the dots, you can add a new one if you want to add more. Yeah, we can see pretty good answers. So unexpected paywalls, unexpected closing, not working as intended, poor response, bad UI, runs slow, poorly on device, performance issues. UI bugs. We'll give you guys 1 more minute and then we'll discuss the answers. Security issues, too many advertisements, didn't had any expected features, yes. Can't use correctly. Taking up too much space of hard drive. Okay, I think we got pretty good responses. And I think all of them are correct because you are answering based on your own experience. So no wrong answers here. And thank you for actively answering this question. So I want to show you guys why I asked this question. So moving into the next slide. So according to analysis that a marketing firm had performed, these are the reasons why consumers uninstall mobile applications. So the number one reason is they took up too much storage. I think we had that in your answers as well. And intrusive advertising, that was also there. And kept freezing, privacy concerns, poor design, didn't understand how to use it, complex registration, and there could be other reasons, like specific reasons like it was time consuming, boring, you didn't use the app, you didn't like the app icon, etc. It could be any reason. Why I wanted to ask this question is this. So if mobile application in an industry, if it is something that generates huge amounts of revenue and has huge user base, and if these are the reasons that are contributing to the retention rates, that means for users to leave the applications, if you look at these reasons, everything has to do something with user experience or the design. So designing an application is a point where you can avoid all these errors or non-advantageous behaviors that we will have in our applications. So that's why mobile app design is crucial. You have to think about uh, the application from the design point onwards, not after you have launched it. So moving on, I'm asking an obvious question. What is mobile app design? I think Nadia also explained what mobile app design is. So the simple answer is it's a task of designing mobile applications. And when we talk about mobile applications, like I mentioned earlier, there are various types. Like gaming apps are there, social media apps are there, and entertainment apps are there, like various apps are there. And if we categorize it into two categories, there are consumer apps, there are enterprise applications. However, for all of them to be successful, there are factors that we have to include in the design. We have to have optimal usability, accessibility, engagement, and an overall a better user experience. So I want to start from this point where we discuss the mobile application design versus mobile web design. I want to think of an example This is a very subjective example. I'm taking this so you can understand. Imagine there's a product where they have an web application, and that web application is mobile responsive. So they can use it on any mobile or tablet. And do you think that they will need a mobile application too? I'm going to answer my own question. You cannot give an answer to that question because it will depend on the business that you are dealing with and the particular requirement, and also based on their user base. They may or may not get advantage by having a mobile application. The reason why I'm telling that is these two are not the same. Just because someone is having a mobile, the responsive mobile web design, that doesn't mean they don't need a mobile application. And vice versa. If they have a mobile application, doesn't mean they don't have to have a responsive web design. So let me explain it further. Why both of them are good. So if we take mobile apps first, since it's the subject that we are discussing today, we can take one thing, that is the device capabilities. So when it comes to mobile apps, they are better at utilizing your device's hardware. For example, the face recognition systems that you have on your mobile phone, and the fingerprint, and the security sensors. And if we talk about the iPads, where they have LiDAR sensors and etc. So all those things can be utilized within an mobile applications compared to a web design that is mobile responsive. And also, if we talk about operating systems, similar to the hardware features, it is easier to leverage the ingrained features of an operating system if we are using a mobile application. If we take examples, uh, so when we are designing native applications, we make use of their native features. It could be just a pop-up that it could be how in iOS how a pop-ups comes, and it could be something like how we send push notifications, and how a certain operating systems have widgets on their home screens. Likewise, so those things can be utilized if you are using a mobile application for your business or for any other product. And transitions. This is a subtle thing. Uh, the animations that we use in mobile applications, we can use them better in mobile apps, but we don't have that capability when it comes to mobile web design. These transitions are readily available for mobile applications than in the mobile web design. And the customization. So these days we are realizing that a lot of experiences that we have with mobile applications are tailored to our own preferences because they have the ability to track our user data and then create experiences that are really matching to our own needs. So that customization is there for mobile apps. So that's also one reason why mobile apps has an advantage. And when it comes to mobile apps, we can work offline as well. There are certain applications that cannot function without an internet connection. But if you think about it, all of them has an offline capability as well. This particular offline feature is very useful when it comes to enterprise applications where people are working in remote areas where they don't have Wi-Fi connections or anything. So they can record things in their mobile apps while in the offline mode and sync back to uh, whatever the server that they need once they are in a geographical area where they have the internet connection. So those kind of things are very advantageous in mobile applications. And then the responsive design. So when it comes to web applications, responsive designing is something that is very crucial. We have to think about all kinds of screens, and there's a very big difference between the screen sizes. Mobile apps are also having the same issue, but not as bad as the web, because even though there are different size of mobile applications, sorry, the mobile devices, it can be controlled by the responsive sizing features that are already there. And moving on to web apps, because if you are comparing, you also need to know what it is good for. Uh, One advantage in mobile web design is it is available for everyone. It can be accessed by anyone by using any device if they have an internet connection. And unlike mobile applications, users don't have to update the app. The app, the web will will be updated, and users will not notice that it is updated. They don't have to manually do it by themselves. That's an advantage. And also it's cost effective. In most cases, having a responsive web solution is cost effective than having an mobile application. But like I mentioned earlier, this is very subjective based on your need. You cannot always say that web design is better than mobile application or mobile application is better than web design, because if you look at the advantages that I listed here, some people will be at will be if you take a particular product or a business, they might uh, lean more towards a web design because these are their needs. They want the product to be available for everyone. They want it to be cost effective, and they don't want to burden their users to update the application. So this is the best solution for them. But if there's an application or a product that needs to be work in offline mode, that needs to utilize all sort of sensors and the operating system related features, then it's best for them to have a mobile application. So this is a very subjective topic, but I hope you understand that these are two different things that you can use based on your need and your business's need. And then moving on to the next topic. So far I have covered the mobile application versus mobile web design, and then the other comparison, the native and the cross-platform apps. Let's start with native mobile applications. I think you all are going to have some development related sessions in future. So I hope you already have an idea about what a native mobile application is. And this here I have added a brief introduction into this. So native mobile apps are applications developed to target either Android or iOS, depending on which operating system you are developing for. Your applications are usually coded in a specific programming language. So what's there for design if we are designing it, if we are developing it in native or as a cross-platform? So when you are designing for iOS, this is your Bible or the handbook. You should always refer to human interface guidelines that are given by Apple. And if you are designing for Android, you should be referring to Material UI. So in the FigJam file that I have shared, if you move to your right hand side, at the end I have added the references. So if any of you don't know the links to these sites, you can go ahead and refer. So the first one is the human-centered guidelines by Apple. And second link I have added is the material design. And the next most important thing I want to share, since I will not be sharing anything about how to do pixel perfect designs on mobile or of mobile applications. There's a reason why I didn't include that part in this session. Here's why. If you go into this link, Material 3 Design Kit, you can get Figma community file for all the components that, that are available in the material design. And if you go to this link here, Apple Design Resources, you can find not only Figma, but Sketch and XD files for the UI kit for iOS. So what I'm trying to say here is that you don't have to reinvent the wheel when you are designing mobile applications, because these two giants have provided us with the UI kits. So when you are designing a native application, all you have to do is follow this documentation, go through the component list, and understand how each of these components are used in which scenario, and what are the do's and what are the don'ts, because all these information are available there. So that's why I didn't go into detail in explaining these things. So once you have an idea about how a component works and when to use them, and what are the adjustments that you can make, so you can use the UI kit and start building your application. So only thing that it does is it saves your time, so you can focus more about creating your solution and make it more accessible, and make it uh, performance friendly, and make it more secure. Okay, so that's about these guidelines. I hope you guys will follow that and try to understand what it says. And something I forgot to mention, if you have any questions, feel free to put it on the chat. So at the end of the session, we can have a look. So moving on, the cross-platform applications. So the introduction to cross-platform application is that we create cross-platform mobile application from a single code base. So goal of a cross-platform application development is to target different operating systems with one project. So it's usually easier to maintain. And one thing that we often see when it comes to cross-platform apps is that we usually uh, if we are trying to have same look and feel across platforms, by platforms I meant iOS and Android, then we usually go for a cross-platform application development. Or it could be other way around too. You could be using a cross-platform framework, but you still need to mimic the native UI elements and native interactions in your application to make it feel native. So one thing to keep in mind is that uh, so if we are doing a cross-platform development, as a designer, you might feel that you have freedom to do custom components. You can introduce new components. You can do fancy things. I will explain later why most of the time fancy things are get cut off. Uh, One thing to keep in mind if you are doing custom components or any custom designs is to have a close collaboration with your developer and consult them and ask them about the capabilities that the particular framework that they are choosing are having, and whether there are any performance and accessibility issues or impacts from from the custom design that you are doing. Because if you are making a custom component, how that will be implemented will depend on the developer. So they will use different methods to develop that particular custom component, because it's not something that is already there, it's something new, and different people can do it in a different ways. So because of that, you need to consult developers and always keep performance and accessibility in mind when you are designing custom components. And the safe bet is always to follow the UI guidelines provided by these Android and iOS. All right, so we can move on to the best practices, starting with small screen. So before we go through each of these best practices or the points, uh, the quick tip I can give you is that the the way to do a better mobile app design is that you should understand what are the limitations you have when you are doing a mobile app design, and what are the strengths a mobile application has compared to a web application. So the first few points that I have mentioned here are going under that limitations and strengths. So let's start with the small screen. So uh, as you already know, if you are designing a mobile application, one of the key limitations that you have is that you have a very small real estate or space to design. For example, if some so when we are looking at a web application, we call that the above the fold. Above the fold means the area that you have before you start scrolling. So the information that you have above the fold, if you were to represent same thing in a mobile application, it will need several screens in a mobile application. So that itself explains the challenge we have. So when it comes to that situation, we have to always prioritize the content and the features. Since you have a very small space, you always have to be mindful what are the content that I should display, and out of those content, which ones has the more priority and which features has the more priority. So you can spread these features and the content among those number of screens, and you can also decide which one should come first and which one should come next. So this is, if you already know about the design terms, this is contributing to the information architecture of a particular app. And then I have mentioned downplay the Chrome. So in this case, Chrome means not the Google Chrome. It's a UX term that we use. It explains the visual elements that you have in a particular application. So if you have a very limited space, and if you also go and put icons, images, and things that are just aesthetically pleasing to your space, then you will not have enough space to show the prioritized content or the features. So you have to downplay the Chrome. So that's why I mentioned as one of the reasons. That's why most of the fancy things gets cut off in mobile application. It doesn't mean that the mobile applications have to look dull all the time, but you have to be selective. And the portability. So when we are talking about applications, the first thing that comes to our mind is that we can use it on the go. So that's the main advantage that you have. If I take an example from the enterprise domain that I'm in, if we have a product that has everything on the web as a web application, and they also have a mobile web which is responsive, should we have all those features in our mobile application as well? I'm not meaning the mobile web, I'm meaning the mobile application. Answer is no, because web application can have all the features, but if you are selecting things to be on the mobile applications, those things should be the ones that users need to use on the go. So that's just an example from the enterprise world. It could be different depending on the context. And also, using an application on the go means that, let's say you are using an application while you are walking down a street, and someone comes and talks to you, and whatever you were doing on that application is now interrupted. So it is prone to get interruptions. It's a nature of a mobile application. So how do we address that from a UX point of view? One example is that you should always have a save state. If someone was filling a form, there should be a way to pre-save these things, and they should be able to pick things up from the point that they stop. And the statistics says that the sessions that people have on mobile applications are almost half the time of the sessions that they have on web applications. So we have very shorter sessions. So because of that, since they are prone to get interrupted, since the attention span will be very smaller during the time that they are using a mobile application, when we are designing mobile apps, it's better to have a very simplified task. If it is a larger task, it is best to break it down into a simple task and spread it among fewer screen. For example, if it could be a long form on a web application where you have to scroll down and fill all the things. But if you are going to have the same form on a mobile application, it could be uh, still a form, but you have several steps, and there could be indications that you are moving towards the end, and you should be able to show the progress of the user so that we can keep them interested on the things that they are doing, and we could also convey them how long it is for them to reach their target. So that's about simplifying task. And then the next one is the single window. So you already know that we have only one window when it comes to mobile apps, but there are scenarios that we try to have more than one window. For example, we have picture in picture, where we try to watch a video or something while we have something else in the background. But so far, we are not that successful in dividing the screen into two and do two different things on the mobile apps. So because of the same reason, apps have to be self-sufficient. Uh, what we meant by being self-sufficient is that if you want something, if you are providing your users to ability to do something by using your application, then that user has should be able to uh, do that task within that app itself. They should not or you should not make your users go outside the app and get some data and come back to your application, because it's too much of a hassle to switch between the windows or the apps. uh, so as the Nelson Oman group advises, you should not even ask them to use a pencil and paper while they are using your application. uh, for example, let's say there's an application which sends you an OTP code, uh, and you have to now close your app and go back to the messages and type the memorize the code and then type it. Do you like that? Or do you like your app to pick up the code and show it in your keyboard so that you can tap and fill the code? So that's what we mean by being self-sufficient. You don't make your user leave the application and find more information to complete a task. And the other point is touchscreen. So this is a limitation and also a strength. The limitation, because if you think about a web design, if you have icons or buttons on a web design, you don't have to worry about the sizes of those buttons and icons, because you can click those using your mouse. And since the cursor is a very small thing, even if the icon is small or not, you can easily click and get the things done. But when it comes to mobile devices, and since it's a touch screen, since we have a very small space, uh, it's a bit tricky situation uh, to decide those sizes. Especially, uh, it's usually larger than the icons, the buttons, and everything is larger on mobile than in web, because we need it to be larger so that people can tap with their fingers. And also, we at the same time, we want to make sure that they don't tap on any unwanted areas, and which leads to errors. So we have to be mindful about touch targets and also touch areas. What I meant by touch areas is that uh, the different sizes of devices can have different touch areas. For example, if we take a mobile device, let's take an iPhone 11, for example. So you have I hope you have an idea about what size that is. So the thumb area is something that you can easily reach with your thumb while having the phone on your hand. And while using the phone, you might have already realized that if you have something on the top left corner of your mobile, then it's really hard for you to reach there with your thumb. Either you have to use your other hand, or you have to switch how you are holding the phone and then reach there. So those kind of things are the things that we call as touch areas. Uh, so you have to be mindful about those touch areas when you are placing your touch targets. That's one thing. And also the variable connectivity. I think we touch base this while talking about the advantages as well. This can also be a limitation, because even though we have 5G and everything, most of the time the connections are not stable. So since mobiles are also something that we use on the go, people can face uh, lack of connectivity. So because of that, when we are designing, we have to be mindful to do light page designs which are easier to load or have loaded. And also, if something is taking time, uh, you should be able to keep your users still engaged by using things like loading screens or loading animations so that users don't get frustrated while they wait. And even if that doesn't have a loading time, you have to anticipate a situation where your app might be offline. If it is offline, how you will handle that situation. So because of that, you have to think about those loading screens, loading animations, and offline screens. And another thing is that when you are designing, think about how many API calls, how many conversations that you are going to have between your client and server. So it will not hinder the performance, and it will help you guys to load the pages faster and avoid the number of steps. And also the usage of font features. Like I mentioned earlier, uh, when you are designing an app, if the devices that are being used have the similar functionalities, like GPS, camera, and voice, you don't have to reinvent the wheel. You should make use of those features that your device have or the devices of your users have. For example, nowadays in most mobile applications, you have the option to scan uh, the scan a particular QR code or a barcode. So you should not ask your user to enter a code if you can simply ask them to open their camera and scan the code. So be mindful to use those features, whether it's something hardware related or whether it's something coming from the OS itself. And the other thing is usage of meaningful transitions. This is again a subtle thing, but you have to be mindful. The example is the slide and push. So this, if you have tried slide transition and the push transition, you might even think that it's all same. What's the difference? I can use either one of them. But no, I'll take an example. I hope you have used Twitter application at least once, now X. Uh, so if you can remember, if you tap on the profile icon on the Twitter app, it will have a slide transition where it will slide you into that menu while you can slightly see the feed. So it gives you an idea as an user. You are on a layer and the layer behind you is your feed. You can always switch back to that. That's how slide works. And if you take push, I'll take Instagram for this example. If you tap on your messages icon on the top right corner, it will push you from your feed to messages. The transition will look like uh, the current screen that you were in. Let's say you were in the feed. Now the feed is showed away from you, and now you are in the messages section. So it gives the user the sense that the previous screen is no longer available. It's safely removed from your view, and now you can focus on what's in front of you, which are messages at this moment. So those kind of things you have to be mindful to use the correct transitions because it contributes to how users feel when they are interacting with your application. And put effort into branding. If you look at some of the answers that you guys gave, uh, think I remember something like someone had added didn't had the expected features. So since we all have gone into App Store or Play Store, there's a description that we add into the applications. So those things are added by a developer or someone who's responsible in the team. So all these are contributing to branding, even the app icon and even the screens that you add to the App Store for users to preview. So in that case, in that for the person that who gave that answer, they might not have uh, added a very descriptive description or screenshots of the app, or maybe the app icon was misleading. So things like that could happen. So make sure you put effort into branding. uh, and when it comes to app icons, the trends are uh, different from one year to another. Make sure you are up to date on those things. And if you already have an app, make sure you update them to reflect those trends so that your app stays relevant to your users. So moving on to next, don't overuse notifications. So one of the advantages that we see when it comes to mobile applications is that we think uh, it's great to have push notifications. We can send a push notification and get users back on the app. It is, but don't overdo it, because people tend to uninstall their apps just because it's annoying. And you can always provide your users the choice to select the number of notifications so and occurrences that notifications will pop up. Uh, so be mindful about that and follow platform specific guidelines. Like I mentioned earlier, always stick to those guidelines and use UI kits as whenever possible, so that you are uh, following the guidelines. Even if you haven't read through it, you are just following it by using those components. But make sure to read the guidelines. And then they create design specs and style guides. So this is from my experience with working with developers. So when they are developing a mobile applications, unlike web, there are no different front end developers and then someone who does the server related work. There's only one developer. He handles the UI and everything. Uh, I think you guys already know this. So because of that, so when they are setting up their theming, it is really helpful if you, as a designer, can provide them a style guide from the upfront, like when you are first starting the project development itself, assuming that the design is already done. So they can keep the consistency. And let's imagine there's some change request or something that needs to be changed um, down the line. And if they had this theming done correctly as a developer, then they can easily update those changes without having to go through here and there and change things here and there, which will be time consuming. So if you are doing the design, make sure to deliver a design spec or a guideline which consists of all the atomic designs and which helps to keep the consistency. And the other thing is design with performance in mind. Make sure to follow correct resolutions. Uh, I think you already know. And uh, the design tools nowadays provide these things. We don't have to specifically do things like when you are exporting uh, assets from your design file, you can select whether it's for iOS or Android. So it will export it in the right resolution. And before you go ahead and do a design, always collaborate and consult your developer for technical feasibility, so that you don't end up doing a fancy design which has a huge performance impact, which will make you do the design again. And accessibility, this is a very important topic, and I think world is moving toward more towards accessibility, and you cannot no longer uh, ignore the accessibility. So prioritize accessibility. So something we always talk about is the colors. Uh, we talk about colorblind people and correct usage of safe colors. Not only that, when you are doing mobile applications, there are OS or the operating system supported features for accessibility. So make sure you adhere to those as well. For example, the text to speech. If you want to have that feature, you have to design your app in a way that it helps. Like you have to align your components from top left to uh, then to left to right, because it starts to read from top left and then uh, goes into that zigzag manner. So if your components are not well organized within the code, it will start reading here and there. So a user who wants to use that feature will not be able to use that, because it's not that the developer or the designer has not been thoughtful about that. So make sure to utilize those device specific accessibility features and make your apps accessible. And privacy and security. Uh, so we are going to an era where there are hyper personalization. We are gathering data from people. So you have to be mindful about the guidelines, especially if you are working with different countries where they have different rules and regulation around this. So be mindful, make yourself aware about those rules and regulations. And always, if you are using users' data, keep the users informed, and whenever possible, give them uh, the ability to opt out if they don't want to be part of that. And also avoid dark patterns. I know people are using dark UX patterns. I hope you know what dark UX pattern is. If you don't know, that is something that you, uh, in a way, doesn't reveal to your user upfront and make them uh, make that decision without their prior knowledge. So make sure to avoid dark patterns um, as as a part of good ethics when designing and developing applications. So we have come to the last topic, the future of mobile app design. Uh, so the things that we can see, we are already seeing and will be able to see more in the future is that advanced AI and ML integration. So I think you might have already came across at least one chatbot uh, on mobile application. So we can expect that to remain, and especially in enterprise domain, they will start using more chatbots to improve the response time and user satisfaction. And hyper personalization, we are getting into it already. We have tailored experiences. Even our Instagram, Facebook algorithms are really personalized these days. And because of that, we can get uh, really matching recommendations, and it will prevail, and it will increase the user engagement because you are always seeing what you want to see. And it will also increase the conversion rates, like the number of people who are using those applications. And immersive experiences, augmented reality and virtual reality. So, and there will be new devices such as Vision Pro. And when those devices comes in, you will be able to integrate your mobile applications with them whenever there's an opportunity. And with those, there will be new guidelines. So make sure to be up to date to use them properly in your applications. And sustainable app practices. So I have added this link. So I think this is something that might interest you guys about how to do a sustainable app. So in a very light way, I can explain it as so if we are doing a cross-platform application development which has a single code base, it will minimize like it will have one code base and it will be able to use on a different kinds of devices. So you don't have to do spend time and energy doing another code for a particular platform. So the overall idea is that you are minimizing the overall energy consumption spent on app development. So you can contribute to the sustainability goals that we have. And IoT powered apps, we already have these. We have smart homes, we have wearables, and in industries, we have industrial automations. So they will keep enhancing and they will keep contributing to efficiency and data driven decision making. And the 5G powered experiences. So with 5G, we expect to have high quality and real time streaming more in future. Subscription models are already there, and it is expected that it will remain and it will create more traction in health apps, entertainment, productivity, and software tools, and in enterprise applications and productivity apps. I think whoever doesn't have a mobile application in enterprise, they will not be able to gain that competitive advantage. So because of that, we can see a lot of enterprises are moving towards the mobile application development. So that is a trend that we could see. And yeah, so as we already have the seamless integrated payments that we have since some time now, they will keep having that, and hopefully they will redefine the security and more people will start those the mobile payment gateways. So those are the things that we can anticipate for future in mobile apps. I think we can already see these things at certain levels, and so the Statista and those statistics companies have predicted that these things will uh, keep improving when it comes to 2025. Yeah, so that's the end of the topics that I picked for today. Do we have any questions? Even if it is something that is not covered under these topics, that's fine.
Hello.
Yes.
Hello. Hi. How can we balance aesthetic appeal with functionality in mobile app design?
Good question. So like I mentioned, we always approach with the function first mindset, or how we can best cater the the users. So if we have already thought about that part, like whether this particular function caters the user, then like when if you are already sure that this particular function is should be there to cater the user, then you can start the conversation with uh, the developer, and it's always a conversation that you always go to them and pitch your idea. This is how I have planned to have the design in this application to have this functionality, and they can always check whether that's feasible or not. They will give you their technical expertise whether that's feasible or not. and based on that, you can decide whether to keep that or not. And when it comes to aesthetics, it's always best to adhere to what these the human interface guidelines or material designs provide. So it could be colors or the animations or the typography. So everything is included in those guidelines. So if you always stick to them, you will always come up with a clean design which does not have those conflicts. So one key thing is to always adhere to those things. If you want to think outside the box and come up with something new, the best way to do that is to always consult your developer, uh, think about the technical feasibility, and then include those in your application. Did I answer your question?
Yes, thank you very much, Ms. Nadeeka.
No worries. Uh, do we have any more questions? All right. So it seems like we don't have more questions. Uh, do we have any more questions?
Excuse me, madam.
Yeah.
So I have a question.
Yes, please go ahead.
Can you recommend popular frameworks or tools used for cross-platform app design?
App design or development, did you mean? Hello? Am I audible?
Yes, ma'am.
I think your question is not clear. Sorry, I didn't hear your name. Sorry. So when it comes to design, you can use Figma, XD, or anything, whether it's native or cross-platform. You will be designing using um, any of those tools. And if you are thinking about whether, since now I have mentioned for Android, it's Material UI, for iOS, it's Human Interface Guidelines. If you are wondering what to follow if you are doing a cross-platform design, the answer is they always lean towards Material UI. The reason is we have a larger market for Android. Most of the people are using Android, not iOS. So when it comes to cross platforms, the designs are leaning towards Material UI. So I'm not sure whether that's the answer that you are expecting.
Yeah, that was good enough, ma'am. Thank you so much.
All right.
Does the participants have any more questions to the speaker? Please feel free to unmute your mics, or you can also type your questions in the chat box, or you can fill the question form sent through the chat.
It seems like we don't have more questions. So you guys can feel free to reach out to me if you came across any questions regarding mobile application designing. You can always find me on LinkedIn. Feel free to reach out. So thank you for participating, and thank you IEEE UCSC for giving me this opportunity.
Thank you, ma'am. Your expertise and engaging style made the topic truly come to life. We appreciate the time and effort you put into sharing your knowledge with us.
Thank you.
With that, now I would like to take this moment to present our valued speaker a token of our appreciation. Indeed, it's an honor to have shared the presence with you, ma'am. We are very much obliged. Kindly accept this virtual token as a small gesture of our immense respect and gratitude.
Thank you, Nadia. Thank you so much.
Once again, thank you very much for being here with us today amidst your busy schedule. Now, we kindly ask all participants to join us in capturing a memorable moment together, a virtual screening. The virtual background has already been shared in the chat box and will be in the WhatsApp group as well. So I'll give you all a few minutes to get ready. I once again request the participants to turn on their camera for the screening. Okay, so on the count of three, guys, put on your best smiles. 3, 2, 1, smile. I'll just get one more to make sure. Please bear with me. 3, 2, 1, and smile. Thank you to each and every one of you for being part of this monumental event. It was truly an enjoyable experience. Now, as we've reached the end of the session, there are a few announcements for our participants before you guys leave. So, the team registrations, which you've all been eagerly waiting for, will be open tomorrow, and there should be 4 members per team. And remember, the teams should be of the same university. A delegate booklet will be provided tomorrow, which includes the guidelines and other important notices along with the registrations. If you guys get any questions regarding the guidelines and about the hackathon, please feel free to reach our OC members and ask out in the WhatsApp group. And finally, the upcoming workshops, which are the Flutter Basic and Advanced sessions, will be held physically on 21st of January and 25th of January respectively. So stay tuned, guys. With that being said, a heartfelt thank you to each and every participant who joined us today and stayed with us until the very end. Your active participation and engagement have been instrumental in making this event a resounding success. As we wrap up, we kindly remind you to share your valuable feedback through the link provided in the chat box and in your WhatsApp group. Your insights are essential for us to continually enhance our future sessions. We eagerly anticipate reconnecting with all of you in our next session. Until then, it's me, the moderator, signing off for today. So stay safe, guys, keep learning, and may the knowledge gained today serve as a stepping stone for future growth. Good night and goodbye.